What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We did this video last week where we took a look at 5 teams that were currently ranked that won't be ranked much longer, and 5 teams that are not ranked that will be ranked very soon. A lot of you seem to like this, so we're going to try to do it every single week as we move forward through the rest of the season. And going back to last week, out of the teams that I named, so the teams that I said last week would not be ranked much longer: Kansas State, Syracuse, Kansas, Kentucky, and Illinois. That didn't mean like this week they wouldn't be ranked, but just in the coming weeks. Kansas has already dropped out. Also, James Madison dropped out. I did not have that one on there. I think Syracuse is now looking much better. Kansas State is a little iffy. Kentucky got a big one over Mississippi State. I think they're pretty safe now. And Illinois, with that one over Minnesota, I think they're pretty safe to stay in the top 25. Teams that I said would be unranked, that are unranked, that will be ranked soon: North Carolina, Baylor, Coastal Carolina, Notre Dame, Purdue. Well, North Carolina is now ranked. Also, Tulane was a new team in the top 25 this week, a team that I kind of missed on. So let's go through the 5 teams that are currently ranked that I think will not be ranked much longer. Starting with number 17, Kansas State. Kansas State has had a great season so far. They've looked really good, but the schedule, I think, is going to catch up to them. So I had them on here last week, and I still feel the same way. They had a bye week this past week, so nothing really changed, and no reason to change anything. But you look at the schedule, they've got TCU, Oklahoma State, and Texas coming up, and that's just a tough schedule. Then on the road at Baylor, on the road at West Virginia. I don't see Kansas State being ranked at the end of the season, or in the next 3 weeks or so. They should drop out. So I still feel really confident on that one. The next team is Texas, currently ranked number 20. And I think this one really just depends on this weekend, if they beat Oklahoma State. If they can beat Oklahoma State, this team will probably stay ranked the rest of the year. They do have Kansas State on the road after that, TCU, Kansas, and then Baylor. So yeah, it's all about Oklahoma State. If they lose that game, they probably drop out. If it's really close, maybe they don't. But then on the road at Kansas State the next week, I could see Texas falling out of the top 25. But if they beat Oklahoma State, like I said, I think they're probably going to stay in the top 25 the rest of the year. So this really depends on what happens in that game on Saturday. Number 21, Cincinnati. Cincinnati 5-1 now. They've had a pretty good year so far. The only loss coming to Arkansas. They haven't been blowing teams out, though. They've had some fairly close calls. And you look at the schedule for them coming up. They've got SMU on the road and then UCF on the road. 2 really tough road games in the conference. I think they probably lose one of those 2 games, and that is going to knock them out of the top 25. So I think Cincinnati will be out of the top 25. If not this next week, the week after that, because I think they will lose one of those 2 games. NC State at number 23. I talked about them last week. They didn't make it into the video, but I did say if Devin Leary is out for a long time, then this team is not going to stay ranked. Well, it turns out he's going to be out, I believe, for the entire season. So NC State definitely going to be unranked, I think, in the coming weeks. They just don't have any offense without him. So I think they're going to struggle. You look at what they have coming up. They might beat Virginia Tech this week, a game that they should win. Or that may actually be the next. I think they have a bye week, then they play Virginia Tech. So then they'll play Wake Forest on November the 5th. So that'll be not this week or the next, like 3 weeks away, kind of. I don't think they beat Wake Forest without Devin Leary. They're just not going to have the offense. And so I think after that game, this team will not be ranked any longer. So NC State, enjoy it while you can. Maybe you can beat Virginia Tech and stay in the top 25 a couple more weeks, but I don't think they're going to be there too long. And then number 24 is Mississippi State. Well, it's really about this weekend. They're playing Alabama. They're not going to win that game. I would be shocked if they won that game. And they're already at number 24. So, yeah, I don't really see them staying in the top. I mean, I guess if they played them really close, I don't know, a 3-loss team staying in the top 25, I find that kind of hard to digest. A 3-loss team at this point, when you've got some other 2-loss teams out there that I think will have a better case. So I think Mississippi State, after they lose to Alabama, they then will be unranked. How about teams that are unranked now that will be ranked? We start with Purdue. Purdue is already in my top 25. They've actually been in my top 25 the last 2 weeks, so I've had this team ranked. But the AP just refuses to rank them, and we are going by the AP, by the way. I didn't even look at the coaches poll, going all off of the AP poll. So Purdue has won 4 games in a row. They lost to Penn State and Syracuse in the first 3 weeks, two top 25 teams, and then they beat FAU, Minnesota, Maryland, and Nebraska. So they've put together 4 pretty good wins in a row. They've got Wisconsin and Iowa coming up. They should be able to take care of business in those games unless those teams just suddenly find an offense. They'll have Illinois after that. So I think going into the Illinois game, they will be ranked. If they lose that game, they'll probably drop right back out. But they're in a really good spot. I mean, I don't see them losing more than 1 or maybe 2 games the rest of the season. Maybe they don't lose another game at all. They could be 10-2. Schedule is very, very nice for Purdue, and that's why I think that they will be ranked. UCF coming up next. This team, I think, is going to be ranked pretty soon. They just had another great performance by their offense last week. They're 5-1. They're already getting votes, and I think all the teams that I've put in this category, I think all of them did at least have votes to get in. This is a team that lost to Louisville in week 2, and then they've won 4 games in a row. I have a Power 5 win over Georgia Tech. They've got a tough one coming up against East Carolina. They're going to be favored. If they lose that game, forget it. They're not going to get ranked. But if they win that game, I think they have a good shot at being ranked. And then they get Cincinnati at home. You win that game, and definitely UCF will be ranked. But I don't know. The schedule's tough. They play Memphis on the road, Tulane on the road. If they do make it into the top 25, I don't know how long they're going to stay there. That schedule, again, does get pretty tough. South Carolina up next. They're 4-2, currently unranked. Lost a couple of games earlier in the year. They've got the win over Kentucky. It's going to be about the game on Saturday. Can they beat Texas A&M? I think it's a winnable game for them. They're playing at home. They've got a good shot, I believe, to win this one. But it will be tough. They lose this game, probably not going to get ranked. But if they do get by Texas A&M, then you've got, if that's not enough, so let's say they don't get quite enough votes. After that, they have Missouri and Vanderbilt. So by then, if they're sitting there with just 2 losses, yes, South Carolina will be ranked. So great opportunity for them if they can beat Texas A&M. How about Oregon State? They're 5-2. They're not ranked now, but I believe that they will be in the coming weeks. Schedule not too tough for them. They've got Colorado, Washington, Cal, and Arizona State coming up. They've got, a really good shot to win all of those games. So they could be sitting there at 9-2 going into that Oregon game. And at some point during that 4-week stretch, if they do continue to win, they will get ranked. So I feel pretty good about Oregon State winding up in the top 25 before too long. And then there's Maryland. They are 5-2, another team that has a pretty good schedule coming up. Only 2 losses. Of course, one of those losses coming to Michigan. The other to Purdue, who I believe, again, will be a top 25 team soon. And you look at their schedule. They've got Northwestern and Wisconsin coming up. They should be able to win both of those games. They'll only have 2 losses going into a tough game against Penn State and then Ohio State. So you figure they might lose both of those games. And they won't stay in the top 25, but I think they've got a good shot to at least break into that top 25 before they do play Penn State on November the 12th. And so there you go. Those are the 5 teams that are currently ranked that I don't think will be ranked much longer, and the 5 teams that are currently unranked that I believe will be in the top 25 very soon, or at least they've got a great opportunity if they can win some big games coming up. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.